just start?
I mean, yeah, why not? We'll keep Barry Manilow up, yeah?
It'll keep Barry Manilow.
All right.
So, who's been seeing this talk for the last 3 years? Tidy. There'll be none of the same jokes then. So, I came here 3 years ago. 2 years ago, whatever it was. And Dan called me the day before and was like, hey, I can't make it. You're going to have to do it by yourself. And I did not have a speech prepared. And I spoke for 45 minutes, and most of you laughed. And it was great. The following year, day before, Daniel called me up and was like, I can't do it, man. And the talk was about him.
I don't sound like that.
It was about him. And he just didn't come. And so I had to do it again and spoke for 45 minutes about sliding doors. And most of you laughed. And this year, Dan can't actually make it. He's just going to go home now.
Bye, everybody. Thank you. Thank you for almost coming here.
We're doing a talk about pathological demand avoidance. This translates almost exclusively to this presentation because we had one slide, and I made it yesterday.
Yeah, it's true.
We don't even have that.
And we were supposed to finalise the talk last night, and instead we just goofed around for like 4 hours.
We went to a bar.
So
I've come all the way from the Isle of Wight. Any fans of the Isle of Wight? Okay, first of all, Daniel and I both have a predication to swear at times, so on the count of 3, we all say the rudest swear word you're comfortable with hearing. 1, 2, 3.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty good.
It's the limit.
Yeah. All right, well, I'll stay there, yeah. Okay,
so
cool.
Dan is going to give you the spiel, and I'll interject with humorous anecdotes from time to time.
That's what he says. We don't know if it's going to be humorous yet, but we'll be the judge of that later. Okay, so, pathological demand avoidance. Funny. Hello, everybody. I'm sorry I'm 3 years late. However, I am here now, so yes, it's worked. And I came all the way from Anglesey, which is kind of one of the reasons why I wasn't here the last 3 years, because it just takes forever to get here from Anglesey. It took me 5 hours yesterday to drive, and I got there 5 hours back today. So, pathological demand avoidance. Do we know what that is? PDA. Hands up if we know what this is. Yay! Okay, cool. So, something interesting. We were discussing this actually at the bar. We were supposed to be discussing our talk, which we kind of did a little bit. But one of the things, and I said, this is really funny. Do you know what the moment of inertia is? Do we know what the moment of inertia is? Yeah? And Newton's laws of motion, if an object in motion is traveling at speed through space, it can't deviate from its track. And also the same, that if an object isn't moving through space, then you can't get it to start moving. Which is kind of what happens. I have like a bazillion different projects on the go. I want to play Dungeons & Dragons, in my house, and play with a new TV, I want to play this game, and I'm actually writing this book. But none of them are happening. I'm just sitting on my own, just going like, well, I can't start it, right? This is the moment of inertia, and this happens all the time. And I think the moment of inertia actually happens because of said pathological demand avoidance. Kind of like, hey, Alex, can you make a slideshow for the presentation in Cardiff?
I've known I was coming to this for a year.
And
before you carry on, I will let you guys know. Identifies as autism, ADHD, ACD, and dyslexia. I forgot all those letters.
Yeah, the good ones.
Dyslexic.
Anybody?
So I'm high-functioning ADHD, so any opinions and stories I push out into the audience come from that perspective, and Dan has his many faults.
It's true. Who here doesn't know who I am? Like, just show hands and I'll give a little intro. Okay, quite a few. Oh, okay. So my name is Dan, or the Aspie World, which I'm wearing this name badge. It's not really, it's my merch, but it does say the Aspie World. Basically, I have ADHD and autism, and I run a YouTube channel, Facebook page, Instagram page, website. I've got a book out called Autism for Adults on Penguin and Hay House and stuff like that. So I do a lot of this kind of stuff, and basically, I was diagnosed at 26 years old with Asperger's syndrome, if we remember that, the good old days, and ADHD, and some giggles there. I have strong opinions on it. I actually did a video. If anyone thinks Hans Asperger is a socialist from Germany.
Stay on target, Daniel.
It's not real. It's fake. And I did a 26-minute video going through the paper that was released on it because a lot of people think it's just like a witch hunt. Anyway, regardless, that's me. And yeah, so that's what I do. But I do. We travel around the world. Actually, Alex comes with me around the world. We talk about everything from kind of like the fun things that happen with autism and then the serious things. And this is kind of a mixture between the two of them, really. And I wanted to kind of like, the moment of inertia. It's a big thing right now because I think a lot of people are facing this, especially since COVID. We have all the time in the world to sit at home and do stuff, and we didn't do anything. We watch TV and like ordered, I don't know, nothing, just like movies online, just watch TV, like that's all we could do in COVID. But it kind of like, it ingrained in me that like I wanted to start all these projects, like everyone was like renovating their houses and building sheds and stuff. And I was like, oh, I could do that. But I didn't do any of it, I just sat down and was like, because something interesting. So who here has played the game Buckaroo? Okay, cool. So if anybody's too young, you don't know what Buckaroo is. I don't know if it's still out. Is it still a thing? I'm like super old. Is it still a thing? Wow.
I'm working on the slides. You carry on, Dad.
My guy. Okay, so Buckaroo. Party Mama was good enough for me, but whatever. But yeah, so Buckaroo is a game in principle where you chuck loads of stuff onto this little mule or whatever the hell it is, and then by the time you put the last thing on, he's like, enough is enough, and he kicks back. And all the stuff goes over and you lose the game and everyone else is like, ah. And it always used to scare me because it was like, you just don't know when it's going to happen. It's like a jack in the box, right? You did that when you were a kid. So I don't like surprises. And this is one of those things. However, Buckaroo is a really good example of how pathological demand avoidance is happening in real time. Because when people think about pathological demand avoidance, or PDA, let's just say PDA, it's a lot to say, isn't it, PDA? So PDA is happening constantly in autistic individuals' lives. And I think a lot of the parents come to me that I work with and they'll be like, oh, I asked my kid, do you want water? They'll say, no, yes. And then we're like, okay, going to brush our teeth? No, yes. I was like, what? Or like if you give them a birthday present, I don't want it. Okay, we'll put it in the bin. No, I want it. It's like, what? It's like an instant response. It's like no, it's like a negative response, right? It's like, I can't do it, it's too much. And the reason for this is, oh, it's Alex's website. And the reason for this is simply the Buckaroo experience, right? Because if you think about this, in a neurodivergent mind or brain is kind of going through many different things in one time, processing the heat in the room, the light in the room, the amount of people in the room, how close I am to another person in the room, all of these things, right? And it's processing all these things simultaneously, constantly. My mind is constantly going. And if I'm speaking too fast, I apologize. And this is another example. My mind's going like 1,000 miles an hour, right? And when this happens, somebody then, you got to think about it. It's like an absolute busy mall inside my head all the time. Blah, 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 blah. And somebody comes over and it's like, Dan, can you do this? And I'm like, no, because I have too many things going on. So it's like Buckaroo. You put too many things on, it's going to kick back, right? And the negative of kicking back to Buckaroo is the fact that you're not going to do the thing, which is the demand avoidance, right? Like you already have so many demands to try and live in reality, right? Autistic individuals trying to live there. And then you have this...
Slow down, Daniel.
This is why he's here. Thank you, Alex. Do we have a slide yet? Or like...
I'm working on it, man.
Oh, man, look at that haircut picture. Man. Okay, so...
It's my Ellen DeGeneres.
It is... It's not a phase, Mom. So, yeah, the Buckaroo experience is basically that. You have so many things going on constantly that those individual things that are going on in your mind, like having to like regulate yourself in temperature, in space, like just being somewhere, right? It's like there's so many things going on. Even your clothes, it's like giving you a sensory experience. And then somebody comes to you and asks something of you. It's never going to happen, right? So, where does this lead us? And this is kind of like one of the things I'm really into at the moment. Like, we all know, okay, pathological demand avoidance, blah, blah, blah. But what do we do about it, right? Like, okay, we can all talk about it for hours, right? Oh, I wanted to do this, but I can't do this thing. Oh, Newton's law of motion, blah, blah, blah. But where does it go? How do we overcome those things? And that's what I want to share. I want to share some, like, hey, we have a slide. Honestly, this is like, look at these pictures. It's like Chandler from Friends and Vanilla Ice or something. What is going on here? Like, honestly, I don't know why.
That's my best work, guys. He's laughing at me.
So, anyway.
I was going through some stuff. Okay?
These images, yearbook images, are amazing. So, in terms of experiences of pathological demand avoidance, PDA, I keep saying the full thing, goodness. In terms of PDA, who here has experienced the fact that you have many things on your list of things to do, yet every time you look at your list, you'd rather just sit down and not do anything?
I think some of you are lying. I think every hand should be
yeah. And there is a process. We're going to go through the process. But we need to change. There's two parts, right? One is a viewpoint of seeing what we're actually doing, and the next is taking action or urging yourself towards taking those tasks, right? And we'll go through both of those. But Alex, sorry, did you want to interject something here? I feel like I've been talking for a long time.
I feel, so you and I differ a little bit, but also are slightly comorbid on this one, in that I struggle with the dopamine effect of my list. There are so many things on my list that will reward me. For instance, working out. Thank you for the people who noticed I've lost weight.
What?
But I'm trying to lose more. And there are things on my routine that my phone will buzz off and go, beep! It's time to go to the gym. I'm like, no, it's not. Even though I know it's good for me, even though I know I need to do it, I was 21 stone. My friends had me in their phone as Hecka Chonk, 2-man job, and the thickness.
Well, you're on my phone is delicious. You know what I mean?
And the part of my brain which tries to connect doing the task and the reward has often been my biggest hurt. I see the pink-haired one nodding, or the air conditioning's just pushing a hair out. But so from an ADHD point of view, it's like I want the reward, but also there's too many things that can give me the reward. I'm going to do nothing. Like I went to sit down to make this amazing slideshow at 10 a.m. yesterday.
And by the way, can we just say this is the slideshow? It's a single slide.
Can anyone guess, A, how long this took me, and B, what time I sent it if I started at 10?
10 hours. Midnight.
Midnight. Who said, I'm not that bad. About 8-ish, yeah.
He texted me when I was driving, and I laughed and I almost crashed. It's a true story.
So for me, it's the connection of reward. Like, I know I'm coming to Cardiff to do a talk. That makes me very happy when I'm here. But I know there are so many boring things in between, like meeting up with him.
Lies, I'm a hoot.
Having to eat and stuff. From the ADHD point of view, my pathological avoidance comes from the fact that there's just, I know it's good, but there's so much bullshit between me and that moment.
We're still within the limit, right?
We go to California and do a talk. It's my example of this. We knew we were going to California a long time before. And it's like, oh, it's going to be so exciting. We're going to go to Disneyland.
We didn't. We didn't go to Disneyland. We were across the road. We didn't go to Disneyland.
And he was like that for a fucking year.
Yeah, it's true.
And the moment that my brain just went, oh shit, we're doing it. We were there.
We were already on the plane.
We were on
I was like, you got your speech, right?
I don't get excited for things until they're happening,
Yeah.
which means the list is annoying. Because if something that number 8 on the list I want to do is there, I can't do it. Because if I've got to like clean my house and everything, it means, A, I've got to find my door key. I have no idea where it is.
It's true.
I lost it 2 weeks ago. I have been, shit you not, using a window. Not even slightly kidding. I haven't lost it. I've put it somewhere which later eluded me, and I will find it again. I still have a door key. I haven't lost it because I'm a positive human being. It's not gone. It's just somewhere, and I haven't been that place yet.
But Alex is bang on the money. Yeah, he was talking about dopamine, right? So everyone that's neurodivergent is dopamine deficient, right? We're always searching for dopamine, or the happy hormone, and it's kind of like.
That's not mine.
What, so we're all dopamine deficient. So we're always chasing dopamine. So we're always wanting to it's an exchange of something, isn't it? You want to exchange of value. Can I do something that's going to give me dopamine or make me feel better? Kind of like a lot of autistic individuals and ADHD individuals will get addicted to gaming and stuff like that, right? Because it's so dopamine. Dripping all the time. It's like, oh yeah, killed this thing and I've got more points, or I'm getting extra kind of lives in this area, blah, blah, blah. So those things are dopamine rich. But a task to-do list is the most boring non-dopamine thing ever, right? Which is exactly what I was saying. But more importantly, there's a secondary here, which is we'll talk about how we move ourselves to going through the task list. So I'm going to teach you how to do that in a minute. It's going to be amazing. But more importantly, so to get you out of the moment of inertia, by the time you leave here, you'll understand that. You'll be able to action it right away, which is amazing. But the first thing we need to realize is the secondary which comes from it, which is when we think about doing something, we all then also think about the catastrophic fantasy, which is basically a psychological condition where you think the worst thing is going to happen. Or let me put it into like a simpler term. When you want to do something on your list, you don't do it because of the fact that you think it's going to cause more problems. How many people think about this? You think, oh, if I do this, it's going to cause more problems, right? Of course. Okay, good. So, and yeah, that's right, man.
Bubbles.
Yes, spicy, bubbly water is terrible. If you ever drink sparkling water, get out right now. I'm joking. Sorry, my girlfriend loves sparkling water, but I don't. It's gross.
You don't have a girlfriend.
You're just jealous. He's just jealous. He doesn't get to sleep in a bed with me anymore. We did. We shared a bed for 10 days once. That's a different story. But anyway.
We got out of it from time to time. Like,
For the work.
we were making, okay, I need to explain that. We were making an album in Wales. We had a house which didn't have enough beds, and someone had to share. And
We got the short straw? Unfortunately.
Yeah, guys, you didn't get a short. This is a luxury.
So anyway, so problems. So this is how it works, okay? So problems. Everybody think problems are a bad thing here. Put your hands up. Who's scared of problems? Okay, good. So
just that side of
just the side of you guys okay? It's okay. We can cuddle later. So in terms of problems, this is what we do. Problems is a viewpoint issue, right? And it took me a while to learn this, but I'll teach you exactly how to deal with it. Things in life don't happen to you, they happen for you, right? Which is a very interesting thing to think about. Things aren't just happening to you constantly. You're in the perfect space in time that you need to be, right? So things are happening for you. It's everything in life is just kind of going along. You just have to accept what's happening, right? Embrace what you can't ignore. How do we do this? So we see problems differently. When we see problems, we think it's something negative. Oh, problem, what am I going to do? Blah, blah, blah. But actually, think about this. If a problem exists, we only know it's a problem because the solution exists, right? So that's how we know it's the opposite of a solution. It's a problem. We can all agree, right? So we know dark exists because there's light, right? So what do we have? Do we have problems or do we have potential towards solutions? Okay, so this is what we think about. So when we have that idea in our heads, we think, okay, well, we're not actually dealing with problems when we're dealing with things on our list. Oh, this is going to cause a ricochet of problems. No, it's actually going to create opportunities for you to solve certain things, right? It's a problem-solution thing. And how this works is that, this is the theory. If you're stood still, you're not going to get any problems because you're not moving anywhere. But if you start moving forward, you're going to come across problems, right? So getting problems mean you're moving in the right direction, which is a good thing. Because if you stood still, you don't get any problems, but you stood still. Nobody wants to stand still forever, right? Because what's going to happen? It's going to be a boring life of non-existence. So let's think about problems in a way where we're thinking about it as a solution-based thing. It's good. We all love solving puzzles. We like solving puzzles and things. There we go. Okay, so now we're looking at it from a potential towards solving puzzles. And that's all it is. That is everything that you need to know about problems.
I will interject how I solved one of my problems. So I, shockingly, struggle to eat at times. I know, I get well fed. But a eating structure, I managed to lose. I have no pattern in my life for eating food. My brain would just go, by the way, it's been a bit, might need some glucose in me at some point. So what I did is I moved forward with pride and purpose, and I married up my eating habits to my dog. Because that bastard does not forget. And so if he's eating, your boy's eating as well. That is how I solved the puzzle of my inability to structure my eating habits. I built it around my dog. It's a really expensive alert and reminder software. I tried the phone. I tried the sticker chart. No, a dog that just goes, feed me. Oh, actually,
this is true. This is a true story.
So that is legitimately how I've solved that puzzle. I married it up to my dog. Actually, he's a gorgeous little boy.
Oh, man. Okay, so now, who wants to learn some stuff? We're not going to talk about dogs and eating anymore.
It's Donald Trump.
Oh, God.
That's right.
He went there. He went there. Oh, man. I didn't even see the thing, but I'm sick of seeing memes about people eating animals. It's like weird, right? Like cats and dogs, not just like chicken. Right? Okay, so we're gonna do some learning, right? So it's just gonna be good. Well, hopefully, it's one ambiguous thing to do. But I'm gonna teach you, explain to you, and you should be able to just take this apart. Okay, so we need to do two things. We need to complete tasks on a list to move ourselves forward to create more problems, because it's good, right? We're moving in the right direction. We're going forward. We're getting problems. That's a good thing. But then we're also having to try and get dopamine back into our system, so we're like, okay, this is cool. It gives us like a kind of like a chain reaction. The more things we do, the more dopamine we get, right? Cool. So this is how we do it. And this is like a tried and tested method, and it's age old. And by the time you're midway through doing this practice, then you realize you're already rocked out of the moment of inertia, which is really fun because it kind of tricks you into getting out of this thing. So, say you have 10 projects to do, right? You need to get a piece of paper, a blank piece of paper, and we write down project. What's wrong with that? Where's that slide on? What's going on?
I'm working on it there, don't worry.
Right, thanks. Okay, well, just put Barry Manilow back. What's going on here? Oh, here we go.
Keep going.
Right, we have
I'll
one.
just sit here and fiddles.
Right, so it's not his first time.
There's a police in the room.
I know, that's what I'm worried about. Anyway, okay, so we get a piece of paper and we write down To do, right? We all have a to-do list. How many people have more than one to-do list? I have a to-do list for a to-do list, right? Okay, yeah, okay, good.
You'll also notice Dan has a to-do list really high.
I do. I have whiteboards in my office. That's why I'm doing this. That's why I have a whiteboard. Okay, piece of paper, Dad, right? And you write down on your piece of paper on your desk at normal height, to do. And then you write down the things that are occupying your mind. Like, the things that you're not doing. Like, I need to kind of cut the grass, or I need to, I don't know, wash the car, or I need to do something else, right? All of the things you need to do in life. Even it could be a project, it could be a work thing, right? You have to write down like every single thing. Now, two things will happen, right? The first thing will happen is that this is so weird right now. I don't know what's going on. Yeah, so the first thing that'll happen is you'll realize that the amount of things that you need to do are actually smaller than the amount that you think you have to do, right? Because we all think that when things are in your head, you're like, I have so many things to do. When you actually write them down, it's actually kind of negligible. So maybe 4 or 5 things. So you write them all down. And I always say that you start like with a list of 10, but if you can't get to 10, that's absolutely fine. And actually you're doing really well if you don't get a list of 10. But this is more important. When you write down a list of the things that you have to do, and these are all things you have to do, and you've been putting them off because you're experiencing inertia from this demand avoidance, right? You take the thing that, you look at the list and you say, okay, which one of these things is going to give me the most value if I did it straight away? Like, which one of these things is going to give me the best kind of like return, the most dopamine if I do it right now, right? The biggest reward. What's the most urgent thing on this list? So you take that one thing, get a new blank piece of paper and you write down thing, important thing, whatever it is. And then, this is where the magic happens. You have to write down, what are the steps involved in completing this? How do you get towards that, right? So, washing the car, right? I don't know if people wash the cars, they don't have to take it to like those dudes in Tesco and they just do it. But like, if you have...
He's about to say he drives a Tesla in about the next minute.
I drive a Tesla. Thanks, Alex. Notice I didn't say that, he did it.
It was going to come up.
Yeah, Anyway, so people, any car, right? It doesn't have to be an EV. What's going on here? Why is that one not working?
I'm trying to get it to work. You just carry on.
All right, I thought you were just goofing about with this grass. Right, so you write down, okay, so wash car, right? What do I need to do? I need to have a bucket. I need to have access to water. And these are all different things. I need to have a sponge. I need to get soap. Then I need to start, think about how I'm going to rinse it. Then I need to wax it. Then I need to buff it. All of those things, right? And then you just go through them one by one and just action the one thing. So I'll give you a real life example, right? You want to change your job or career, right? And you want to be looking for jobs and career. You want to change your career. So change of career. Step number 1, start looking for other jobs. Rewrite your resume. Number 2, number 3, send 10 resumes out a day. And what happens is if you just take one of those actionable items from the smaller list and just do one of those, instantly what happens is you're already 2 dopamine sessions into ticking off. You've made one big list, you made a second list, and you start ticking things off, right? You're already out of the moment of inertia. So even by just writing those things down, you're rocking yourself out of inertia because you're pushing yourself forward, creating problems, because what's going to happen is you're going to be like, I don't have an up-to-date resume, I need to do that, what do you call it, CV, I need to add new things into it. And by literally just taking one of them, this is where the demand gets lowered, right? Just take one of those things and say, I'm going to do that today. I'm going to just look at like a job website. I don't know what job websites are these days, but I'm just going to look at that job website and see if there's any jobs. So you're already moving forward because you're going to come across problems. I need to create an account. Good. New problem, moving in the right direction. I need to pay for a subscription to a job site. I don't know, maybe you do. But it's a good thing because it's a problem, right? You're moving in the right direction. This is how you do it. So as soon as you start going through those things in the list, you'll realize that all of those things can be completed. Yes, Alex?
Would you recommend?
No.
As you complete a couple of these smaller tasks, rewarding oneself with, say, a cookie.
Well, actually, the thing is, we said we weren't going to talk about food anymore. But the thing is, as soon as you literally cross out, make a physical list. Don't do it on your phone or an iPad, or make a physical list. Because as soon as you score that off, your brain will have a dopamine release because you've completed a task. And I put it down to the more basic thing. A lot of people say to me, I have trouble even just completing tasks. I say, okay, because I coach people one-to-one, right? And I say, okay, this is what we're going to do. Tomorrow morning, you're going to wake up, I'm going to have 3 tasks, and they're going to be super easy. Number 1 is make your bed. Number 2 is have a shower. Number 3 is make tea, right? Or make a cup of tea. They're really easy. But what happens is we write those down, and as soon as you complete one, just tick it off. And then your brain goes, I completed the task. That's awesome. You get a bulk of confidence because you've had a dopamine release, and that's cool. And then you can carry on, and it kind of becomes a ricochet. And you're like, okay, I can do the next one, the next one, the next one. And that is how you get the dopamine reward. Thank you, Alex.
What if I don't get the dopamine reward from crossing things out. Like, my dopamine comes from cancelling plans. Like, I love cancelling plans.
You tell me that cancelling plans is not crossing something out?
Yeah, but that's where I get my dopamine from, is like calling someone up and just being like, you know, I said I'd do the thing. No, I'm going to stay inside and watch Psych on Netflix.
That is something. You've said on your list, I need to cancel plans.
I know,
Done.
but I reward myself with a cookie.
Yeah, that's because you have a problem, right? I just think...
When I grew up, when I was born, the day I was born, my dad also bought a Rottweiler puppy. And I grew up alongside that Rottweiler for 12 years of my life. And so I'm used to just eating off the floor and just being like rewarded with biscuits for doing something good. It wasn't healthy. But I don't find the dopamine in crossing things off my list. As such, I find dopamine in sending him funny memes.
It's true. They're not that funny.
First of all, they are funny. You just can't read them. So for me, I took it this direction. So I want to be thin. Who doesn't want to be healthy and everything? Who doesn't want to be healthy or in good shape? She's off. Speaking of gym, I'm fucking late.
Yeah, that's exactly it. You just hit a
Look at that full season jumper as well. You look like a glorious pumpkin. Big fan. Goodbye, spice latte.
Thanks, Alex, making people leave.
Well, I made them arrive because you didn't come for 2 fucking years.
All right.
So for me, I want to have a six-pack and everything just one more time in my life. One more time. I used to have them. I used to have abs. They were glorious. And they were super hot. And then, pandemic happened and I grew to 21 stone. Your boy was hecka thick. 3 Qs. And I want to be thin. And I look at me now and in the mirror and I go, never going to happen. I look at those old pictures of me and Dan when we were in California in 2019 when I could walk 10 feet without being out of breath.
It's true, we both were.
And the distance between me and that version of myself is 900 miles away. It's a long way away. But instead of looking at the top of the mountain, I look at base camp 1, which is 2 days at the gym a week. Just 2 days. And when I get to that first base camp, I will let you know. But...
He already does it. Look at him.
If anyone needs any jars opening...
Speak to me.
Don't come to me. I'm training the legs only. I'll kick that jar open. For me, I have to build the dopamine release. I don't get the dopamine from crossing things off my list. Hey, you're the young lady I swore at last year, aren't you? Not you. You all look like people I sworn at, sorry.
You swear at people too often.
Last year, the blue hair. Big sexy Princess Leia blue hair as you. And I said the C word. And he giggled uncontrollably for around 30 to 45 seconds. We had to stop and get air. But I don't see the crossing off the list as a good thing. For me personally, I don't get the dopamine release from it. I have to do something. So I also work a very flexible job. And my job is actually quite demanding whilst also being quite flexible. And I live by the 15-15 rule, where I will work for 15 minutes and then doom scroll for 15 minutes. And I am so much more productive that way because I've looked at what my task list is for the day and I've attacked it and I go, yeah. Now fuck off. Go kick a ball outside and then I'll come back and I'll attack another 15 minutes of it and then I'll fuck off again. And that's just how I started to attack my list as well. Instead of just being like, instead of breaking down into one thing, going, okay, I've got to make a cup of tea. I'm going to fill the kettle. Cross! I'm going to press the boil button on the kettle. Cross!
It's true.
I'll do a bunch of shit and then I will just leave and I will come back to it. And that has been how I have been able to sort of get really productive. Because as a ADHD person who works from hybrid, work from home and anywhere in the world, I worked on a cruise the other day. Don't recommend it. Big of rubbish. But being someone who can be agile and stuff is a luxury, which I thoroughly appreciate, but I also have the attention span of a fucking squirrel. And I just have to do things. I can't make the list. Because if I make a list, I get bored. Like, I'll have to come back to making a list. I'm like, there's page 1, I'll see you Wednesday.
This is the difference between comorbidities, right? If you just have ADHD, this is the experience you get. But but it's interesting though, because if you have autism and ADHD together, you know you love routines, right? You love routines, you love the same things. But what will happen is, those routines are okay when you're doing them, but then when somebody says to you, can you do something else? Then it's too much, and then you become procrastination, which is the moment of inertia. and it's the PDA, right? Because and it's really funny because you're saying that, like, and it's true. You can just do many things and be happy with the fact that you're getting dopamine from just doing many things at once. But if you have a comorbidity,
cartwheels mainly.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. And if you do a comorbidity with autism and ADHD, then you're conflicted, right? Who here has comorbidity, ADHD and autism, right? Who has that? Okay.
All right.
So you know what it's like when you're wanting to sit down and focus on something, and this is a true story. I'll give you a good example of this. But you also can't focus for buggery because you have ADHD, right? I've got a book out called Autism for Adults, and the publisher was like, "Can you write a book?" I was like, "Can I write a book? Come on, of course I can." So I was like, "Okay, when do you want it?" And they said 3 months. I was like, "Easy, right? I can do a book in 3 months. Am I so stupid?" So I sat down at my desk and I was like, "All right, let's do it." And I was like, "Oh my god." Like, I can't say I want to focus, but two things happen. One, I'm dyslexic. Oh my goodness. And then the second thing is that I also have ADHD, so I was like, doom scrolling. God, I'm going to play with my dog for a little bit. I'm going to go downstairs and get a sandwich. And I'm going to come back and I'm like going to make some tea. And nothing happened. And I was like, it was like, a month left. And they were like, how's the script coming along? And I was like, so I was like, okay, I need to do something. So this is a hack, right? And this is really interesting. So we all love learning stuff, right? Problem solving is learning how to overcome something or do something, right? So we all love learning. So I to relax, I have to learn stuff, right? So when I go to the gym, or when I pretend to go to the gym, or if I go running or I'm working out, I have to listen to audiobooks, and I listen to them 2 times the speed because that's when my brain's working, So anyway, but this is funny. So I was out on a run, listening to this book, and I was like,
that's how he runs as well, ladies and gentlemen. That is exactly.
I'm like, how am I gonna stop laughing? I was like, and you and Cal, and I was like, how am I gonna do this book? And then I realized that the reason I was listening to an audiobook when I was running was because I was getting tactile feedback, right? So it's kind of like the expression, if I said, hey, how's it going? You'd go, if I punched you in the arm and said, hey, how's it going? Wow, you'd really feel that, hey, how's it going, right? Getting tactile feedback or muscle proprioception
as well.
Yeah, you'd be confused, okay?
What's up, motherfucker?
But what I mean is that you feel it, right? It resonates to you because it's called tactile feedback. Now, when I was running, I was learning because I'm hitting the road and it's like hitting my knees, my legs and everything, and I'm getting this deep muscle proprioception, which is allowing my mind to listen to the audio and actually have it reinforced through like a physical tactile touch. So I thought, well, if I reverse this is how I'm going to write my book. I'm going to run on a treadmill. This is a true story. I run on my treadmill. I got a treadmill in my gym in the house, and I run on the treadmill for 1 hour every day for 8 days. And I spoke to my phone. I was like, okay, chapter 1. And I did that, but I was like, and because your phone has like a speech to dictation software on it, right? Everyone's phone has this. And then I just wrote the book like that. It took me 8 days, and I was like, okay, done. Because that was kind of occupying both parts, right? My brain wanted to focus on something, but my ADHD brain was just like veering off like south. So when I'm running, my ADHD brain is kind of like occupied because it's doing something, right? I get tactile feedback. I'm running on the spot, or I'm running to Quarry Park and back or whatever. And that is how I wrote my book. And that's how I overcome the comorbidity of having 2 things together. So the other example is that people in COVID were saying to me, how do I get my kid to sit at a computer and do a Zoom class lesson, right? And I was like, well, get those under-chair cycle things. Those things executives have. And they go, oh, I'm going to put a cycle thing under the chair, And so you sit at your desk, or you can just get a bike on like the, the stand thing. You cycle whilst having your lecture. And it worked really, really well. Alex.
So part of the ADHD sort of vision of everything Dan just said, I listened to some of it. I'm sure I'll watch that at some point. For me, I actually get a little bit more dopamine release by doing something at the last freaking second. Yeah, I see some nodding in the room. I see some nodding. There are some people who are like, I need that by 7. Cool, I'll see you at 6:59. Which makes this quite a difficult thing to do. So for me, my pathological demand avoidance comes from the fact that I get high off of doing it very last minute. Because in those last minutes, you don't have time to second guess yourself. So I do graphic design, web design and stuff, and I like making logos spin. And if I'm designing a website, I'm like, oh, what if it spins at 30% faster or 28% faster? And then I'll spend an entire day looking at a logo spinning. By the way, the websites. And I'll just waste my day on it. But if someone says, Alex, we have 1 hour to get this project over the line, I'm like, this is me.
It's true.
Watch me work. I can do it faster than 4 people. Just guaranteed.
We used to work for a magazine. It was like we had a 5,000 distribution, and we were both editors of this magazine, right?
Yes, we were, and they were dumb to hire us.
And we used to run a company together. It was stupid. And they phoned us on the day, like, hey, the magazine's going to print in 3 hours. Oh my god. So I phoned Alex, like, Alex, we didn't do the magazine again.
I didn't even have Adobe InDesign 3
It
hours.
was so funny. Like, every month we just about push it over the line to get it to print. It was insane. But what Alex is saying is absolutely right. Because you get loads of dopamine from those kind of like moments of just like, oh my god, I have to do this or I'm going to die. So we don't have much time left before the next person comes in, but I'd love to take questions because a lot of people ask us questions about all these types of things. But I want to give people the amount of time to ask questions, right? So my guy here in the shirt.
How would you differentiate how what you talk about with mindfulness and inertia and things like sort of diagnosis?
Interesting. So like, I suppose, okay, so inertia is like the experience, that's like the explanation of what's happening, right? But PDA is the kind of term or psychological term saying this is because inertia is more of like a theory of what it is, right? But PDA, the PDA is actually like the diagnostic criteria because it's categorized in certain things. And what's really interesting is that, and this is super interesting, not everybody with autism will have PDA, but everybody who has PDA will be autistic, right? So, or neurodivergent, should I say. That's really interesting. And so it relates to the fact that it's down to wanting to do many things because your brain is moving faster than you could possibly allow reality to catch up with, and then it comes into play from there. Does that kind of answer the question, or like more clear?
My sibling
Yeah.
Is it possible that might also be comorbid with something along the lines of authority defiance as well? So mine is comorbid with authority defiance. So if I'm taking the bin out, and then someone says to me, "Hey Alex, did you take the bin out?" I'm like, "Fucking no." No, you've asked me to do something I was already doing, I'm no longer going to be able to do it. Like, I will avoid it in that sense, in a way. Are we hitting it any closer?
What you're saying is really interesting, though, because you are right. There are different. It's not new, but it is new in terms of like clinical kind of assessment, right? So a friend of mine who works for me, Carla, she's a clinical psychiatrist. She's doing a PhD on this thing actually right now on PDA. And one of the things she was saying about it was that it's factioned off into so many different, like you could have a different experience than I do. I mean, it has its, principles on the moment of inertia, right? We all experience that. But there's so many like individual parts to it. And how it all relates, I guess it relates to the fact that it is a phenomenon that stops you from doing something, in a bare basics. But yeah, it's really interesting you saying that because there will be complete different experiences to it, and you will have professionals who are just going through one part of it, and they're going to say, "Oh, this is all I know on it," but that's like a small fraction of this kind of weird phenomenon right now. And I think it's something that, again, there's not much information on it, which is why my friend is doing this PhD right now in this thing, which is really interesting.
I'd like to know more. Let's chinwag afterwards.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I'd love to.
Any more people with questions? Yes, tattooed arm.
Hello. Do people with I have dyslexia, and I find myself resonating with this quite a lot. Does it have to be people with autism who suffers with PDA, or can people with dyslexia and things have it as well?
Go, Dad.
Yeah. What? Yeah. So, okay, good question. And I was saying over here, it's neurodivergent brain types, right? So dyslexia is within that kind of category because of the way that the brain is kind of like using neurological pathways. And I think it's a byproduct of that, right? And so one of the most interesting things is a lot of people would kind of get this diagnosis of PDA, and then they'd have a diagnosis of ADHD or whatever afterwards, which is really interesting because that's how they found certain type. Because they'll go for clinical assessment and they say, well, there's other things going on here. So I think it's only apparent as far as I'm aware. But like I said, it's very new, and a lot of the research is super new. As far as I'm aware, it's only happening within people with neurodivergent brain types. I'm yet to find it outside of that realm because other people will have issues with completing tasks, right? Because humans.
I do,
yeah. But the experience will be different, and the pressure or the kind of like the intensity of it will be different for someone with neurodivergent brain versus a neurotypical brain.
Yeah, what you said. Next question. Anyone? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, fear of failure.
Yeah, 100%.
Fear of failure, 100%. Oh my god, like Alex, you stand in front of a couple hundred people and chat shit. Yes, but also as soon as that microphone goes on and it's happening, I'm like, I need to leave now. I want this to be a podcast.
So it's true though, because like that, when that moment hits, then the byproduct is anxiety, and then you get worry, and then you also get fear because you're fearful of the fact that you haven't completed these things. You're worrying about having to do them, and then you get the anxiety, which is like the overwhelming. Oh my god, I got all these things to do, blah blah blah. So yeah, it definitely does cause that as a byproduct, and also a feeling of like procrastination as well. You feel like, and then you feel, because procrastination comes with a bunch of other feelings, like you kind of feel guilty for not doing something, right? Which is and that, again, another anxiety. So there's multiple little people playing in it. Yeah.
Cool. We're just about out of time. Can we take a big ass selfie with this room?
Yep.
Yay!
No one knows you're on a day release or anything. Wanted. Your phone on my phone. You do your phone.
I'll do my phone.
You do your phone. I'm going to get here. Everyone, put your hands up in the air. So please, it's like.
What?
3, 2, 1. Yay!
Got it.
Gentlemen, thank you for coming to see it again.
I'm sorry about Pathological.
If you would like to speak to us afterwards, we will be surprised. But yeah, we'll be downstairs or upstairs.